Well, hello, this is Shirley again. We're getting ready to go into the year 2023. And I know one of the things that we like to do is come up with new year's resolutions. And so one of the things I would like to suggest to you is that why not work on becoming more spiritually aware? And so that's by actually developing spiritual practices. So develop some spiritual practices that you can carry throughout the year. Start simple and then just see how things go. And so you can increase your time spent as you go and as you see the fruits of your labor. So one of the spiritual practices we will talk about today is listening. But before we go into that, I really heard some really good information earlier today. I was listening to an interview with Jim Quick, and he's written a book called Limitless. And one of the things that he talked about is that there are ways to improve your life. And so he suggested that there's this philosophy called BCD. And what B, C, and D stand for is birth, choice, and death. So between birth and death, we have a choice to improve our lives, to make a difference, to discover our purpose, to do something about the purpose that we discover, and to actually make a difference for our environment and for possibly the world. So Jim Quick says there's three things that hold us back from making those New Year resolutions and following through with them. And we make them, but we don't follow through. And so one of the things that he talked about is there's an acronym that he uses called OLD, O-L-D. And that stands for, first of all, we need to understand what our habits really are. So own those habits. The second thing for L is learn from those habits. If they were bad habits, learn from them. And then the D stands for don't. After you have owned the habits, learned from them, do not repeat them. It's just that simple. What do we want to learn? And so there are many things to consider when you're looking at what do you want to do to actually improve your life. One of the things that he suggested is read. Read to upgrade yourself. Read to better understand others. Read. That's something that we have a book club we decided 4 years ago to read, to actually get books and read them. Most of these books are written by scholars. They're typically people from some of the Ivy League schools, but they're people of color, and they have written outstanding research books that have not been provided in our curriculum. So we've developed a book club, and that is what we do. Another nugget from Jim Quick. Learn to be a thermostat rather than a thermometer. What's the difference? A thermostat gauges what's going on. It gauges the temperature. It doesn't react to it. A thermometer, on the other hand, reacts to the temperature in the room. It moves, it responds. And I think some of the issues that we have is that if we're in environments that are somewhat negative and we don't know what to do because it's an environment that we have not chosen to be a part of, but maybe for some reason we have to be, learn to be a thermostat. Gauge what's going on, but just don't respond to it. Listening to interview with Trevor Noah, I love something that he said. He realized that because he's very well known, being on TV and on the Daily Show, he realizes that lots of people identify him, and they feel that they know him based upon watching him, week after week, month after month, year after year on TV. And so they just walk up and say, "Hey, can I take a selfie with you?" And he thinks that's kind of bizarre. And so he said his brother actually mentioned something to him, is that maybe perhaps you're misrelating, meaning that people see you, and because they see you, you don't see them. And so you see just them for the first time. They're seeing you maybe every night or every month or every week. And so they feel like, I know him, I can relate to him. I know many things that has happened in his life that has happened in mine. But then you, on the other hand, have not been relating to them because you're the one doing all the communication. You're not receiving anything back from them because you're on TV and they're listening to you. So I want to caution leaders. For those leaders who have groups that you're responsible for, make sure you understand that you're the one that's always communicating. If you're the one that's always talking and giving direction, you're missing a whole lot by not listening to those that you're directing. So when you feel like you're misrelating or someone doesn't understand you, or maybe they didn't get what you said, think about, have you listened to them to see what their perspective is? We have got to become multidimensional thinkers, which means that we have got to get used to listening to multiple perspectives. And it's amazing how much we can learn when we listen. So going into our spiritual practice for today is the spiritual practice of listening. Acts 17th chapter, the 22nd through the 31st verse, Paul is talking to the Athenians in Greece in an area referred to as Mars Hill. I see how extremely religious you are in every way. For as I went through the city and looked carefully at the objects of your worship, I found among them an altar with the inscriptions, "To an unknown God." To an unknown God, what therefore you worship as unknown, this I proclaim to you. The God who made the world and everything in it, he who is Lord of heaven and earth, does not live in shrines made by human hands, nor is he served by human hands as though he needed anything, since he himself gives to all mortals life and breath and all things. From one ancestor, he made all nations to inhabit the whole earth, and he allotted the times of their existence and the boundaries of the places where they would live, so that they would search for God and perhaps grope for him and find him, though indeed he is not far from each one of us. For in him we live and move and have our being, as even some of your own poets have said, for we too are his offspring. Since we are God's offspring, we ought not to think that the deity in the gold or silver or stone, an image formed by the art and imagination of mortals. While God has overlooked the times of human ignorance. Now he commands all people everywhere to repent, because he has fixed a day on which he will have the world judged in righteousness by a man whom he has appointed, And of this he has given assurance to all by raising him from the dead. That's Acts 17th chapter, the 22nd to the 31st verse. I ask that you listen to that maybe twice and see what word pops out at you. What gets your attention? And then ask God a simple question. What should you think about, concentrate on, focus on when it comes to that word that popped out to you? Have a wonderful, wonderful 2023. God's blessing upon your family, your home, your job, and your life. Okay, this spiritual practice was really easy today. So remember 2 things. 1, read to improve your knowledge, and listen to improve your understanding. Okay?